One important thing that I got out of growing up in Los Angeles is the noir thing, you know, film noir. I mean, most of that was shot out there. And if you're from there, it doesn't look alien. That's actually the way a lot of the city looked when I was growing up. And you absorb that sense of, you know, there's always like a tension, a little bit of dread. You're never quite sure where something's going to go. And this is very contrary to a lot of people's stereotypes about Los Angeles. They always think, you know, orange trees, it's very sunny, you know, everybody smiles. But an awful lot of Los Angeles is this underlying tension. It's like this is the ambience of noir that a lot of filmmakers did a good job of capturing. And I always, no matter what I work on musically, I always try to put in a little bit of danger into it, a little bit of dread. We're not quite sure where we're going to go. Even if it's like something that was a pool of beauty, well, there might be a couple piranhas in the pool of beauty. Put your foot in and find out. But that's one thing that I definitely draw upon from growing up in Los Angeles. As a freshman studying composition in any university, it's always very hard to get people to play your music. You work very hard at it, but you're just a freshman. Nobody really wants to play it, let's face it. So that was very frustrating to me. And then a friend of mine came up to me with the first Fred Frith solo guitar record, which is just a recording of him by himself, no overdubs, but with using guitar preparations. Was able to just create this huge sound universe that just sounded like an army guitarist playing at the same time. So when I heard that, I got very interested. Well, how did he do that? And you look on the flip side of the record, and he's holding a guitar, and there's electrician's clips on the strings, and he's scraping the strings with a piece of glass. And I was a big fan of John Cage's prepared piano music, too, the way you could turn a piano into a whole other musical universe. And I saw that and said, I play guitar, I can do this, you know. Why am I trying to bother everybody to play something that doesn't want to play it when I can make these sounds myself? So I ran down to the hardware store and bought a bunch of stuff and started preparing my guitar. So that's essentially where I got the basis of who I am now. But the whole idea of the Pocho Loco project, as far as the name is concerned, Pocho is a very derogatory term that is used in Mexico to Mexicans born north of the border. And it means spoiled, basically. You know, so it's not really something you'd want somebody to call you. But the name El Pocho Loco is also a pun on a cheap chicken franchise in Los Angeles called El Pollo Loco. And every starving artist knows about El Pollo Loco because you get this enormous plate of food for $2.95. But the reason why I decided to call it that is because, you know, according to the census, Hispanics have really grown in the United States. You know, it's really changing the culture. But we still deal with a lot of really ugly stereotypes as what is to be Hispanic. And sometimes they mean well, but it's very misguided. So the typical two stereotypes of a Hispanic artist is either going to be the cliches of, like, if you're a Mexican American, it's going to be some sort of traditional thing. You know, people dressing like they work in a Mexican restaurant and hoop dancing and dancing around hats and marimbas and stuff. Or you have to be some kind of militant. You know, a La Raza thing where you're painting Aztec imagery as murals and stuff. And I don't have anything against either one of those, But those are very confining because, to be honest, most of the Mexican Americans I grew up with don't really have any interest in that. We're just Americans, you know, and we do the music that we're just like every other American, where we absorb everything around us. We're interested in different things. And the idea of it is to bring your own personal experience as a Hispanic to this music, as opposed to fitting it into something that's comfortable for some other people to understand, some people to put in a museum, to fund, any of that. And you know, that was my way of dealing with that question. Since it's so much, especially in America, electric guitar especially is so much a part of the landscape. So I think it's only natural that it's starting to get absorbed into different kinds of music. And it's also the experience of the people writing for it. I mean, we're very far from the Second Viennese School, so it could just, a lot of composers I know, you know, started on guitar, or they play a little guitar, they listen to a lot of guitar. So it's part of their influence too, and I think that's healthy. All I would suggest to anybody who's writing for the electric guitar in, say, chamber music forms is, don't think of it as an amplified viola. You know, they can do an awful lot of things, and it's not even bad if it's loud. Don't be afraid, because that's what an electric guitar does.